Invocation, and then we will do the pledge of allegiance.
Name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for a beautiful day here in Jefferson City. Thank you for the many blessings you give all of us each and every day. We go forward tonight praying for thoughtful discussion, rigorous debate, and most of all, respect for one another as we may differ on all of our deliberations. We pray for the men and women who serve and protect us daily in our lives, here and abroad. We pray for our county, state, and federal leaders for wisdom and civility. We ask all this through Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and do roll call.
Hollers.
Present.
Hazelton.
Here.
Joe. Present. Lester.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Mealy.
Present.
Schwartz. Spencer.
Here.
Spicer.
Present.
Young. Present. We have a quorum.
All right. It's item 3, adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Seeing no comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Miscellaneous agenda items, number 4, none. So that takes us to opportunity for a public comment. I think we've got 4. Ms. Steinman, welcome. You just identify yourself for folks watching at home, but sure, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Velma Steinman, 2217 West Edgewood. I'm the spouse of Leonard, which I'm sure most of you know. And my purpose here tonight is I want to thank the mayor. And excuse me if I get a little emotional. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while now and getting used to the new normal. I just haven't been able to bring myself to get that far yet. But I'm getting there. But I want to thank you, Mayor, and the council for honoring Leonard at the August 7th council meeting last year when he passed. That meant a great deal to my son and myself. I also want to take the time to thank the Cole County Ambulance Service for all their assistance with Leonard over the past year, especially EMT Christopher Till. He was always one that would come, and he was exceptional with Leonard. And when he wouldn't want to go to the hospital when he needed to, Christopher was always able to convince him, yes, it's the right thing to do. And for that, I will be eternally grateful. I'm also eternally grateful for the firemen of our great city, especially Firehouse 3, because whenever I call non-emergency services, they would come and assist me with Leonard, and they treated him with such dignity and respect that it filled my heart. And whatever these gentlemen ask for or need, guys, give it to them, because they're amazing. And I just want you to know that. I also want to thank the Jeff City Police Department. I do not remember the officers that came when I made that call that morning, but there were 4 of them came, and they stayed there with me the whole time till the nurse got there and until Hauser Millar got there with Leonard. They stayed there with me to make sure that I was comfortable and I was okay. And I cannot thank you guys enough for that. And if anybody says anything different, then I'll be the first one to fight. You think Leonard had a temper? You ain't seen nothing till I get going. I also want to thank the 911 operators. The girls were always kind and courteous, and the young lady who took that call that morning, she stayed on the phone with me until the police officers arrived. And I said, well, you don't have to stay on, I'm fine. And she says, no, I'm going to stay right here with you till somebody gets there to be with you. And for that, I'm also eternally grateful, as well as the young ladies who answered the non-emergency number. They always got me where I needed to go promptly and quickly, and seeing that I got the help that I need. And I want to let you all know how appreciative I am for those people. And whatever they need, they can't ask for too much. And that's all I have to say. And thank you all very much once again.
Well, I appreciate you coming in here. Mr. Steinman was a very worthy opponent when we were sparring, but the thing I always appreciated about him is when we were outside this building, we were good friends. We talked. I saw him at the Capitol a lot. And he was a huge advocate for this city, so he is missed. And I appreciate you coming in and thanking the folks that helped him.
Yeah, like I said, that they are so invaluable to the city. No one ever really knows until you need them how valuable they are, you know, and I can't thank you all so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Okay, next up, Mr. Gaffke, Greg Gaffke. You would just identify yourself for folks at home. Thanks for being here.
I'll be happy to, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Jeff City Council. My name is Greg Gaffke. I live at 305 Hunters Run, and tonight I'm wearing a hat as president of the Parks, Recreation, Forestry Sponsorship Foundation. So I just want to pass a few things along. My comments will be brief. About a month ago, an exciting opportunity was brought to us by Assistant Director Phil Stiles and presented to the foundation that I just want to pass along this evening. For years, the local Kiwanis Club hosted the Mayor's Cup tournament, the brainchild of our former Mayor John Landwehr at Oak Hills Golf Course. The local Kiwanis Club no longer exists. That was the beneficiary of the golf tournament. However, City Administrator Brian Crane and our current Mayor Fitzwater would like to continue the tradition of the Mayor's Cup Golf Tournament at Oak Hills Golf Center. And the tournament this year is scheduled for Friday, June 28th with a 12 p.m. shotgun start. And I'd just like to pass along that sponsorship opportunities are available. If anyone is interested, please contact Phil Stiles, Amy Schrader, or Molly would have information as well to help support the foundation. For those of you that may not know, our foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit, is recognized by the RS, and also it's used as an entity that people who want to make donations to Parks and Rec can make it through the foundation, and is a tax-deductible gift for those making the contribution or donations. So, be happy to answer any questions, Mayor, but that's about it for this evening.
Any questions from Mr. Gaffke? Thanks for all your work in the community. Thanks for those.
I want to pass along to you, Mayor, that we'd love to have you in the golf tournament, but to leave that pencil with the eraser that you use with your scorecard.
That was former Mayor Landwehr's job to keep score.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Okay, next, Mr. Derek Thomas. Again, if you could just identify yourself just for the folks at home. Thanks.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just 2 weeks ago in this chamber, several councilmen spoke about the need for more transparency and openness in the council as it makes its decisions. In this council's administrative meeting last week, I heard those same council members support committee appointees based solely on, apparently, it's the mayor's prerogative to make appointments, so we're voting yes. It was also stated in that meeting that we may not like the people our U.S. presidents have appointed, but, quote, to the victors go the spoils. Okay, I'll go with that. Because every one of those federal appointees went through vetting processes, their backgrounds were checked, their philosophies examined, and there were hearings about them. It's not about who we like or don't like. And as one council member suggests, it's not about the gender of the appointee either. And it shouldn't be about people who donated to council campaigns. What it is about is knowing who these people are. Expressly on the Parks and Rec and Planning and Zoning committees, there are real financial ramifications and impacts on the lives of every Jefferson City citizen. Shouldn't we know why they're being nominated? What skills do they bring to the table? Will they show up to the meetings? So I want to urge this council today to step back and examine the process. With due respect to you, Mr. Mayor, and your right to recommend appointees, and with respect to this council's role, per the city charter, to advise and consent on those recommendations, I want to know, our city wants to know, why these people in particular. And I'll take, if there's any questions, any thoughts? Otherwise,
All right, thanks for being here.
thank you.
The last one we show is Ms. Mary Schultz. Welcome. Again, if you could just identify yourself for folks.
Thank you. My name is Mary Shantz. I live at 1928 Hazelton in Ward 2, Jefferson City, 65109. Mayor, members of the council, I respect that it is the mayor's decision to appoint board and commission chairs. That's really never been an issue for me. Tarika Young, Aaron Mealy, Alicia Edwards, Greg Butler, and myself, all losers of our first city council race, were appointed to boards and commissions by the last mayor, Mayor Turgeon. I'm sure there were many others that she appointed after defeat. She contacted each one of us after the election, thanking us for running, for putting ourselves out there for the city. She inquired as to our interest in serving the city in another way and by being on a board or commission, and she also encouraged us to run again if we were still interested. All of us were ultimately appointed to a board or a commission. To my knowledge, she did not remove a board or commission member who desired to serve a second term to put any of us on that board or commission. I was not appointed for almost 2 months after the election. I am disappointed that I will not be able to serve again. I was looking forward to the next 3 years. I believe I did what most people on boards and commissions think they should do. I showed up to all meetings. I was an active participant, not only at meetings, but at functions outside of the meetings. I visited our parks almost every day, and I brought community ideas, suggestions, and ideas and thoughts back to the commission and staff regularly. Apparently, those things don't matter. I would like to think that those things did matter, that experience matters. Brian, thank you for your efforts to develop policies, procedures, a code of ethics, and operational manual for the council, for boards, and commissions. These efforts will make it clear to all elected representatives, those appointed to boards and commissions, and the general public what the rules are, what citizens can expect from their city and their elected officials. I hope you will strive in that effort to get input from board members, commission members, and the general public. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't get on the list before you brought it in. I didn't know if there was allowance.
Yeah, we brought it in. I think it got in here a little bit early, so you're more than welcome to come up. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. I didn't want to break the speed limit to try to get here in time.
Yeah, that's it.
Especially being right next to the police station,
Chief
right?
Crowley frowns on that. So.
He does. I'm Jan Shoemaker, 2026 Trenton Court, Ward 4. I just wanted to mention something on the agenda, the last item about the closed session. And on the public agenda, it says, oh, I have a handout, so I might as well, so I'm going to pass it. Ryan, if you could take one and pass it, please. I'll do it myself. So on the agenda, it says that to go into closed session to discuss the following: operational guidelines, policies, and specific response plans developed, adopted, or maintained by a public agency. However, when you go to that section of the state statutes, it says, and I've highlighted it there, I think they all have highlights. My printer actually ran out of yellow ink, so I tried to highlight with my highlighter, but hopefully, so when you see in the bottom part, when seeking to close information pursuant to this exception, the public governmental body shall affirmatively state in writing that disclosure would impair the governmental body's ability to protect the security or safety of persons, et cetera, et cetera. So it would appear, as a layperson, I'm not an attorney, that the agenda, that part of the closed session does not have that additional part in writing about why that would impair the council's ability to protect such, the security and safety. So I'm concerned that there was an oversight on that, and that maybe that needs to be put on the next agenda because it's not in compliance with the Sunshine Law.
I think our attorney is just getting this cold. I don't know if he's prepared to make comments for tonight. I appreciate you being here.
It's, I think that if the appropriate information can be reduced in writing, that there's no reason that we can't include that in the appropriate motion and do it tonight.
Well, I understand that, but that wouldn't meet the 24-hour requirement, right?
It just requires that the notice be reduced to writing.
It doesn't, you don't need the 24-hour application place?
I don't see that.
Okay.
I mean, let's take a look at it before we get that.
Yeah, you got the whole meeting to do that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for being here. That's all we had signed up. No other. Appreciate everybody who's here, your comments. Always welcome at our meetings. Thank you for being here. All right, that takes us to item 6A, public hearings. 2023-095.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a preliminary PUD plan for a 10-unit apartment building for property addressed as 1235 Trade Center Parkway.
Mr. Smith.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll have a little presentation too here we can go through. As stated, this is a bill and a public hearing to consider a application for a preliminary PUD plan that includes a 10-unit apartment building located at 1235 Trade Center Parkway. And just to recap, this is a kind of a broad overview of the site. You can see on the screen the areas with a color shading are those located within the city's municipal boundaries. So everything kind of north of Old Lowman and west of both sides of Trade Center Parkway are in unincorporated Cole County. So the site there is highlighted in blue on the east side of Trade Center Parkway. Coincidentally, we'll be having another case tonight. We'll actually be directly to the west, on the west side of Trade Center Parkway. But this request tonight is for a PUD, and just to kind of give a broad overview of that, basically a PUD is like a unique zoning district for a site, and so they come through City Council and Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation, City Council for approval for that zoning, in this case for the approval of an actual site plan, development plan for that PUD. This is the said development plan. As you can see, basically a 10-unit apartment building designed kind of in a townhouse arrangement, has appropriate parking, landscaping meeting the minimum code, and includes sidewalks along Trade Center Parkway as well. Again, 10 units located within one building. I think each unit was averaging around 1,200 square feet. The building total about 12,000 square feet. See a little bit of a elevation of the site and the design. It includes front entrances and will include on the exterior of the building a mixture, I believe, of mostly brick, but some siding as well. An attractive unit from, as viewed from Trade Center Parkway. With that, I think that's everything in that presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding that proposal. I do believe a representative of the applicant is in the audience tonight in case there's some additional questions from them. The Planning and Zoning did recommend, I think by a vote of 7-0, approval of this preliminary PUD, as well as staff recommended approval. So again, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council questions or of Mr. Smith or of the applicant?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Mayor, but I'd certainly like to appreciate the investment of the staff to this project, specifically because it's a need of our city, but more even specifically in my case, it's in my ward, so obviously I would support this.
Do you have any comments that you wanted to make other than, sorry, Mr. Smith covered it fairly well? All right, any other comments in the public hearing?
Quick question, what does PUD stand for?
Mr. Smith.
Stands for Planned Unit Development.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Any other comments on 2023-095? Do a roll call vote.
Allers,
Aye.
Hazelton,
Aye.
Joe, Lester,
Aye.
Michael, Neely, Schwartz,
Aye.
Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Bill passes.
All right, takes us to appointments by
Mayor. Can I ask a question?
Councilman Spencer.
After the fact, do you have a timetable when construction's gonna begin?
No, we don't.
Sooner the better.
We like to get it started within the year, but it just depends on interest rates.
Thank you.
All right, appointments by the mayor. Item 7A, appointment to the Historic Preservation Code Revision Committee. Councilmember Mealy has been recommended. Mr. Counselor, we take that to a vote.
Yes, just simple, just a simple motion to approve.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Councilman. I know you've been serving on there, so thanks for being willing to continue on. All right, item 7B, recommended appointments to the following boards and commissions, and you have the list there.
Move to approve.
Second. Got a motion on the table, and a second. Parliamentary assistance.
Discussion.
Discussion on the motion, which is the list you see before you.
Thank you. Before in the, I've lost the name now, but the, leading up to the meeting, I suggested that I was gonna break these apart, and I had my hand up as soon as you mentioned item number 7, appointments by the mayor, and then a motion was made, so, you know.
Is that an amendment or is that a separate motion?
So it would be a request. I think what you're probably asking for is a request to separate the question.
We want to, or I should say, I would like to separate a commission member appointment, the only one that replaces a member currently serving.
Okay.
So,
That was just plain language. Which one do you want to capture separately?
it's the one that Mary Shand served on,
Parks and Recreation Commission.
and it's the Parks and Rec Commission.
But who are you wanting to replace?
The entire slate?
So I'm wanting to take off one appointment from the slate and discuss that separately.
Okay.
And that was what I had indicated in the pre-session that would like to do if possible.
Is that an amendment, or do we need to take the motion off?
It's an action that is, it requires 2 members to bifurcate. So we just need someone else to.
I'll second that.
All right, so the discussion now is on whether.
Can we identify for the record which one we're actually talking about, since Shant's name doesn't?
I believe the Mini Bricks is the new recommendation.
So that's the name, and it's the Parks and Rec. Or Ms. Bricks on Parks and Rec.
Yes.
And the one you're pulling aside, or I mean.
That particular position, I'm not really, names yes, but not necessarily, on my end, concerned about names, but that is the position. Yes.
That's the only way we can pull it off. So
I understand.
Pulling off. And you got a second, so did you want to speak to that?
I will. Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Ms. Jantz for her service to this community. I was on a commission before I got in the role of serving on city council. And it was a really nice thing to do. I was appointed by a mayor at the time, and attended meetings, had a perfect attendance record, served the city, and these commissions are really a value to the taxpayer. It's a very well thought out way to business vet things, get subject matter experts within our community to join for common causes. My concern is not on this particular appointment, is not with Ms. Shantz or Ms. Briggs. I've not met Ms. Briggs. Ms. Briggs may be a wonderful person. Ms. Briggs may have all of the qualifications to serve on the Parks Commission. What my concern here tonight is we're getting into new territory when we take away somebody's opportunity to serve. And what's happening is, I talked to former mayors and I went down the line as much as I could. And in recent history, this hasn't been done. We haven't moved to a position where we remove successful commission members and replace them because we have somebody else we'd rather replace with. Now, Mr. Mayor, I understand this is your prerogative. This is your choice, and I appreciate that. I find it to be, after you're gone, and your predecessor, and so on and so forth, I find it to be a policy issue that we ought not to remove sitting commission members who are being successful for our community, and we should fill seats when they're vacated or when somebody leaves that post. I would welcome Ms. Briggs to serve on the commission if a seat becomes available. That's not my issue tonight. My issue is simply that I don't want to see a successful citizen serving our community be removed to be replaced. So, thank you.
Councilman Spencer, and the discussion is on whether we separate.
So, but my motion was on the table first, so
The separation's happened.
Okay.
Yeah, the question has now been separated, so.
Correct, so that's the issue on the table is what I was trying to.
No, it's not the issue on the table. That issue is not on the table. So currently what we have is essentially a motion to approve the slate except for the appointment of Ms. Briggs, because Mr. Mealy has exercised his right to ask for the question to be separated. So essentially the motion on the table is to approve everyone but Ms. Briggs.
If that confused everybody now? Does everybody understand what is on the table? It's all the names except for one. The original motion.
and I'll just follow up with my comments. I think there needs to be a better definition of terms. What defines a term? Even though that you can serve consecutive terms, multiple terms, that's not what's in the charter. The charter says that the mayor has the prerogative to choose and to replace any and all members of boards and commissions. Ms. Shantz served a term. There's nothing in the charter that guarantees her the right, or anyone else, successive terms. If it's in the charter, please correct me. Is it in the charter?
No.
So, if we're going to pick and choose here, I think that's the danger, Councilman Mealy, is that we're picking and choosing when the rules were good for a previous mayor. To my knowledge, there was never an incident or a time where the previous mayor exercised her right to fill boards and commissions that the council ever refused. It's professional courtesy is the way I view it. And now all of a sudden there's some on the council that feel that those rules shouldn't apply equally. And I think that's the danger that we have here in these uncharted waters. So it's just unfortunate that we continue to go down this road. singling out individuals that want to serve. And I think that's not a good tone. I don't think it serves the purpose of civility, openness, or transparency. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just make a follow-up comment since my name was used. Again, I have no problem with Ms. Brooks. I have no problem with Ms. Chance. There's no lack of transparency. There's actually an effort to move towards transparency. My idea is if we have a sitting commission member serving who is being successful at that job, we don't remove them. If we have somebody being unsuccessful, that's a different story. If we have a vacancy, that's a different story. But in my line of work, in my experience, in my time on earth, when you have a successful volunteer, you let them do the work. Thank you.
Councilman White.
My thoughts are more procedure related. Certainly understand, respect, appreciate the mayor's choice to appoint. I certainly understand that in the charter and the language in which it's written, and I understand the terms that Councilman Spencer raises. I get all of that. My fear, frankly, to be honest, is about volunteers are an important aspect to our communities to serve on these varied commissions and committees. And people invest a lot of time in those positions and work really hard, much more often than not, to be a value member, not just to that commission, but to our community. And if the opportunity is to serve 2 terms, 3-year terms, whichever commission, in this case planning and zoning and parks and rec, I think most people, unless they're unable to serve for whatever reason, at least historically, have been allowed to serve the second term, unless they are relieved in some way for cause. And certainly that's not the case in Ms. Shant's case. I served with her, I know. Very viable, very professional person to the commission itself. But that being aside, and the importance there is pulling the rug out from underneath a sitting commission member that could otherwise serve another term. I think that sets a bad precedent for our community, and going forward is, will they invest the time necessary? Because a lot of times it takes a while to kind of get up to speed in some of these commissions, and by the time they get the lay of the land, so to speak, if they want to serve and they're not able to serve, or not able to approve for the second term, the question then is why would the rug be pulled out from underneath them? And that's my concern, frankly.
Woman Joe.
Thank you. My concern also echoes Councilman Michael's in that I have met Amy Bricks and I think she's perfectly lovely. So I do not have an issue with her being appointed at all, but I personally would rather see her be appointed where there is a true vacancy, such as someone resigning, someone moves away, or if someone's not able to fulfill their duties, or if they have to give everyone the same opportunity to serve.
Ms. Spencer.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yeah, just to speak on the motion.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I'm coming from a long way away, so I hope this comes through, but this would be an interesting argument if it was something that was unique, but it's not unique. Yeah, while Mary Shantz might have served greatly on her term, and I respect that, it's still the mayor's prerogative. However, the 2 previous appointments before this were not replacing anybody that had served already. and they were met with disdain from Councilman Mealy to the point where it became an interaction. And it's not because they may not be qualified, it's because he doesn't like them. And I'm talking about Pat Thomas and Erica Choinka. So while you want to move the goalposts every time somebody's nominated to the Parks and Rec Commission, I mean, shine the sun on that a little bit. Pat Thomas was vilified by members sitting in the audience because she wanted to serve. Erica Choinka vilified because of what she does for a living. And now that we have somebody that just lost an election, which Mary Shantz did when she was appointed to the board, now we want to say, well, she should get 2 terms for no other reason than she should get 2 terms. So this isn't new. This is the same verse, same as the first. It's another attack on a woman, and I know we heard from the gentleman previous that has nothing to do with gender. It's the 3rd woman in a row attacked for being appointed to the Parks Board. It should be concerning to people out there. It's also the 3rd woman in a row that the mayor has introduced to the Park Board that just doesn't get a pass, just doesn't get a thumbs up and say, do your best. Do your best for this community. Every one of them wants to serve. Amy Bricks ran to serve. She didn't win. So be it. She still wants to serve. So this notion that this is a new thing that is unprecedented, that somebody takes somebody's place. This has happened the 3rd time now that we've had this discussion on the Parks Board. It has nothing to do with people taking the place of somebody. It has all to do with the fact that Ron's the mayor, Carrie's not, and you all can't handle it. And so let the mayor appoint who he wants. We get advice and consent. Should we consent to the fact that Amy Bricks is qualified to be on the Parks Board? Of course we should. Why wouldn't she be qualified? There's nobody out there that shouldn't technically be qualified unless they haven't paid their taxes. I asked the question in the committee, who shouldn't be qualified? The answer I got was, well, maybe somebody that hasn't lived in the city for a year. Okay, well, that would disqualify our current city administrator from being on the Parks Board. He has more power than anybody on the Parks Board. Should we disqualify the city administrator from being the city administrator because he hasn't lived here for a year? It's ridiculous. It is exactly what we talked about in the election. It was all a farce, a fugazi. It was, let's be civil. The most civil thing to do is to allow the mayor to appoint his members and to approve them because he's the mayor. And that's civility by textbook definition. So if we want to continue this charade, continue this game, and for the next person up for the Parks Board or for the next person up on planning and zoning, If we want to do this over and over and over again, so be it. And we might even lose the vote tonight. I don't care. But it should shine the light on the fact that everything's changed. This isn't civil. And we should just move forward and approve the slate as nominated by the mayor.
Councilman Spencer.
And just echo some of the comments that this slate was voted on and approved out of committee, 5-0. And this is an exercise of, I think, of an example of civility here. This is our time to rise to the occasion, so to speak. So, go ahead.
I'll just point out that we're talking about members on the part, females replacing females. So I don't know about Councilman Schwartz's allegations about gender. I do think when you have a person that served well, that's a known quantity, and it's to me it's disrespectful. That person continues to want to serve if they not be allowed to serve. And this is a difference both with Ms. Stallings, who had served just one term and then was replaced, and now with Ms. Shantz, who served one term, is being replaced. That, as far as I know, did not occur before. And yes, the mayor, it's his prerogative to make these appointments. It's also our responsibility as council members to review those and to agree or disagree with those appointments. And just as a matter of policy, I think it's just good policy when we have somebody who served outstandingly, attended all the meetings, been very active as a co-chair of one of the subcommittees, as Ms. Shantz has done. If they want to continue serving, to me, it's just good policy that they would be allowed to serve another term. And that's just the way I look at it.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilman Mealy first, and then Councilman Spencer.
Thank you. I hadn't intended to speak again, but my name got used again, so I will speak again. You know, honesty is really important to me. And as Councilman Schwartz alluded, you know, I had disdain and things for Ms. Erica Chwenka and Ms. Pat Thomas. You know, I had great conversations with Pat Thomas and Erica Chwenka. I called them to see what their interest was in the commission. You know, what they had done volunteer-wise before. How they thought they might be able to contribute to Jefferson City. I had really nice conversations with both of them. So, you know, at the end of the day, with Ms. Chwenka, the application was incomplete. In my day job, I don't hire somebody when the application is incomplete. And with Ms. Thomas, you know, it just came down to a issue of a statewide party politics type situation, and whether or not I wanted to see that type of political level infiltrate our commission. And, you know, some may disagree with me, and that's certainly fine. You know, I may have things right, may have things wrong throughout my life. But those were the you know, that was the basis that I use and the merit that I stand by, is being honest, being upfront, making phone calls, talking to people, and understanding their positions. And then I was elected by the citizens of the 2nd Ward to best represent them. And that's what I try to do each day. So, you know, I also, echoing Councilman Lester, I'm not sure about the Councilman Schwartz comments on, you know, being a third woman. Well, Ms. Shantz is a woman currently serving. So, you know, it's not about that. It's really not about anything that Councilman Schwartz said it's about. For me, it's about, you know, and he can have his own ideas. That's perfectly fine, but I'm not putting other council members' names in my mouth. But for me, it is about the respect that a citizen volunteer receives when they sign up to serve their community. And if we just say, no, we no longer want you here, whether it's Ms. Shantz, Ms. Bricks, it doesn't matter. My policy yesterday, today, and tomorrow is if somebody's serving, they ought to be allowed to serve. I think it's a benefit to this community. I think it's a tax savings, as another council member alluded to. You know, when you hire somebody new and you have a business or something, you hire somebody new, it takes them a while to get up to speed. And, you know, some of that institutional knowledge is important, and you could probably quantify that into savings. But my policy is, regardless who is serving on a commission, they ought to be allowed to serve. Understanding, Mayor, your right to select. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilman Spencer and then Councilman Allard.
Just a couple points to Councilman Lester's concern that this is unprecedented of replacing a commission or a board member after one term. We have to realize that the former mayor served 2 consecutive terms, which in recent history was not a normal occurrence, if you will. So I doubt it if the mayor would replace her own appointment. I don't foresee that as being a scenario. Again, I do see it as an opportunity for us to somewhat work to, you know, send a message to the community that we're working together, that we're giving the same professional courtesy to the current mayor as we did to the former mayor. And that's the way I view it. That's the way I see it. And so I just urge my fellow council colleagues to let's turn the page here and let's approve the full slate.
Councilman Allard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love hearing the debate going around the room and all that, and it harkens back to an article that Ms. Steffi Smith just did about politics, should it be at the city council level. And everybody knows, and I'll hide nothing from it because it's a part of who I am as the county GOP treasurer. But Ron can attest to this. There's nothing about party politics that come into anything around here. And it seems to be that knowing who the mayor is and maybe what party he is and who I am, that we get lumped into thinking that we are just doing political appointees here for no other reason, maybe to displace someone that may not be on the same political aisle. So it goes in line here that, you know, I trust people for who they are. And I think we have a wealth of great people in this city who want to serve. And I'm very appreciative. I've served maybe one term on the Oak Hills thing. And, you know, didn't go further from that into the Traffic and Transportation Committee. Love that committee whatsoever. But, you know, I understand the mayor and all that to get the point, you know, who they want. So I think by doing this, I don't want to hamper future mayors by saying we've got to leave people on there. You know, new administrations bring in maybe different ways of looking at things. Ms. Bricks may have some great ideas too. Not saying that Ms. Shantz doesn't. Maybe Ms. Bricks comes out from another community and sees, hey, we could do this a little bit better, we could do that. Should we not afford her the opportunity to present the ideas? I've sat in some of the commission meetings and all that stuff, and there is a wealth of things going on in this city to, you know, bring it the park system up to date and all that. And I think they've done a pretty dang good job of doing it. You know, that's one of the good selling points for the younger people that live around here. So, and I still harken back to what the charter says. The mayor gets to appoint and commissions and committees with the guise of all of us do our job here as we're doing now, advising and consenting on that. And that's, I'm appreciative of everyone's thoughts, but at the end of the day, I think that this slate being passed 5-0 out of our administration committee is worth us consenting and moving it along through, and as the mayor has appointed these people. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Joe?
I have one last question. If the appointment were to be voted down, my understanding of the procedure is that you then have the ability to make another appointment. Do I understand that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, so in that event, would you consider appointing Mary Shantz for a second?
I'm not gonna sit here and talk about what I'll do in the future. Council decides what you're gonna do, and I will base my decisions based on what those actions are.
Are we allowed to say anything out here?
No. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schwartz?
all right, just to close, it's gonna be real interesting in 3 years when Pat Thomas and Erica Troinka are up, for those still sitting on this committee, to see if it still rings true, no matter who the mayor is. Whether this notion that you should serve 2 terms, notwithstanding who the mayor is, or not. So I think this is a litmus test. I think it's an interesting litmus test of what we're gonna do here, whether the mayor actually has the authority to appoint who he wants and whether he doesn't. So with that, I'm gonna ask that we support the motion to improve the entire slate.
And I apologize, I didn't mean to be so flippant with you, but there's not a place for public comment at this point. But I appreciate there are a lot of people that probably like to have that opportunity. All right, you have a motion. Second. We've already got everything you need.
Are we going off the
Two
motion or?
2 action items that you're gonna have to deal with. The first one is all the names except the 3rd name down your list, Mrs. Briggs. That's what's on the table right now, and I apologize if I confused people. Is everybody clear what you're voting on the first action item? The recommendation from the 2 council members was that it be split, so you're gonna take 2 votes. First one is for all the names but one. Is everybody clear what the name that's not on what you're voting on this time? 3rd name down the list, Ms. Briggs. All right, we're gonna do a roll call vote.
Hazelton,
Aye.
Joe, Lester,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Neely, Schwartz,
No.
Spencer,
Can I ask a question? Because I want to make sure I'm clearly before I vote. We are then going to take up Amy Briggs separately, correct? Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Allers.
No.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
Okay, the motion passes. Splitting, now what you're voting on is one name, Ms. Briggs for Parks and Rec. Any other? No?
No, I was
Sorry. We haven't had this in my 7 years on council, so I'm just making sure we're making everybody. So is everybody clear what the motion is on the table now? You're voting up or down one name.
Amy Briggs.
No discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Joe,
Nay.
Lester,
Nay.
Michael,
Nay.
Neely,
No.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Young,
Nay.
Allers,
Aye.
Hazelton.
Aye.
We have a tie.
All right, the mayor cannot vote on that, so we've got that heat. So we'll be bringing a recommendation for parks back to you, hopefully at the next meeting. I'll work with the chair. I know we've got some other, I'll work with the staff too. We've got some other appointments that we're working on, so. Everybody's clear of 5-5, so we need 6 to pass. Councilman Mealy.
Thank you. I just want to make a quick comment and just say, you know, Mayor, thank you for your work in recommending appointments. And, you know, it's not a comfortable situation to be in by any means, and it's nice to get along and things. But, you know, when I have constituents ask me to represent and do things, you know, that's who I represent. And then once I get there, I go in into my own world code of ethics and things like that. And so, you know, it's not lost on me the work that you do and put into your nominations. And, you know, I look forward to working with you in the future and hopefully approving nominations. I think it would be really neat if we could get back into a committee somewhere and maybe look at what would be a good compromise for people on exactly defining how commission members do stay in, or maybe when commission members are appointed, you know, being explicit that this is 3 years and you can go, you know, but maybe just some more communication on that end. But thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Councilman Spencer.
So this was a major issue with your constituency in your ward.
Yeah, my constituents have reached out. A number of constituents have reached out to me, and you know, they didn't really know necessarily the recommended appointment, and they had no issue with the recommended appointment. It was procedure and that idea that you take away somebody successfully serving. I think that's what kind of didn't set well with the handful of constituents that reached out to me. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Shorts.
to inquire, Councilman Mealy.
Councilman Mealy, do you?
No, I think we need to move on, but thank you. I don't typically do the inquiry.
He declines that inquiry, Councilman. You want to make a statement?
Just to speak then.
Councilman Schwartz.
Not shocking, really. Unprecedented move tonight. You know, we set a path forward now that is probably going to become the norm, which is unfortunate, but unprecedented. And I see no situation where Mary Shantz is on the Parks Board again, but hey, sometimes you reap what you sow. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts. Sure wish Councilman Mealy would have accepted that inquiry, though.
All right. Well, Senate set a record last week, I'm told, but we may have set a record on council committee appointment discussions, but I appreciate everybody's comments. Thank everybody weighed in on, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. Who gets the privilege of being next? But we're going to jump to item 8A. We've got an update from Human Relations Commission. So I am going to call up Commission Chair Kim Woodruff, and I believe she's brought some friends with her. So welcome. Thanks for being here. Are multiple people going to speak?
Briefly.
I was just going to say, just introduce yourself when you
Yes.
come up to speak.
Yes, we,
Thanks for being here. Sorry you had to, a little bit later than we thought, but. Hey.
Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing us to speak with you this evening. My name is Kimberly Woodruff, and I'm the chair of the Jefferson City Human Relations Commission. I'm very happy to be here this evening and to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves and our commission to our new city council members, and reintroduce ourselves to those who have been around for a little while, as well as talk about some of what we as a commission are working on and what we hope to achieve with the support of all of you as well as our community. I am passionate about decent, safe, affordable housing, closing the gaps of food insecurities, and educating others to bring awareness, knowledge, and opportunities to the Jefferson City community. Now I invite the commissioners to quickly introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Donna Cavett. I'm a member of this commission. I live at 326 East Dunklin here in Jefferson City, and I've been a resident of Jefferson City since I graduated from Lincoln in 1973.
Just for information, you don't have to give your address, but if you want to, but if you can just.
You told me to do that.
Good evening, I'm Jane Barnes.
I told her to tell you that. Just
My name is Jane Barnes, and I serve on the commission as well. I'm currently serving as the secretary, and I serve on this commission with a strong interest to giving voice and space to all in our community who may not always be seen and heard.
We did used to ask that, but we don't ask that. You're more than welcome to tell us if you want.
My name is Jamie Howard. I moved here to Jeff City in 2019. My wife is a native here, so she moved me down here, and I fell in love with the city. I work full-time in political and community organizing, as well as working at the bookstore downtown. So being involved is really important to me, as well as increasing community engagement and community education. So I'm really glad to be here with you all and to see what we can do for the city and to help our citizens.
My name is Frank Reisig. I chair the City of Jefferson Airport Advisory Committee. I was term limited off transportation and traffic several years ago. I'm active with the Unitarian Church. I want what's best for everybody, and that's where I stand. I want what's best for everybody.
Thanks for your service.
Now we'll have Ms. Cavett give a brief, as the mayor said,
Welcome back.
Commission. Glad to be back. I'm speaking tonight to give you somewhat of a historical perspective of the formation and the rationale for the formation of the Jefferson City Human Relations Commission. I am the immediate past executive director of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights, having retired in 2007. And when I was employed there at the commission in 1990, the Missouri Supreme Court ruled in a case called Yellow Freight versus the Springfield's Mayor's Commission on Human Rights. And in that case, they ruled that a local agency could not order remedies between one citizen against another citizen. And ultimately that local commission did not have the authority to operate and investigate complaints and order remedies under a local ordinance. And the result of that decision was that only local agencies that was, as I quote, grandfathered in prior to the Yellow Freight decision could continue to take complaints, could continue to conduct investigations and make decisions, but only as an agent for the Missouri Commission on Human Rights. And so any local commissions that were formed after the Yellow Freight decision can only act as informational resources. They can be advocates, and of course to encourage the diversity in its community. So that's kind of in a nutshell why we do what we can do and not have the authority to investigate complaints of discrimination.
Thank you, Ms. Donna. I'm also very pleased to be representing a commission that's filled with members dedicated to community involvement, empowerment, and to our mission. We've been blessed with a great team of dedicated individuals who have a wide range of knowledge and experience, who all collaborate well together and are working on several great projects for our community. Both our city and our commission thrive on community spirit. We know that the strength of our work lies in the active participation of our members, our community, and you, our city council. Our hope is that we can work together to continue to build up our city and communities and make everyone feel as loved and valued as we feel about Jefferson City. As a commission, we recently had a booth at yesterday's Porch Fest, where we engaged with the community through a unique mural. Hopefully that'll be on our upcoming Facebook page so that you all can see that. It turned out really great. And we also plan to participate in Juneteenth celebrations, homecoming that's coming up, and the Salute to America. And we're also working as a committee on revamping our online and social media presence. Looking ahead as a commission, we're working on 2 speaker series events. The first is focused on substance use disorder. And it is time to coincide with International Overdose Awareness Day in August. Thank you to the City Council for your time, to the mayor, and the opportunity to speak today. We hope to continue to work together and engage our community to make Jefferson City the ideal place for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Any questions?
I had some questions, if I may ask. First off, I think it's a great idea and concept of you all reintroducing yourself to the council and also to our community as a whole. I just have a few questions. You kind of answered the first one about define what your role is of the commission, and I appreciate that. What do you use as criteria or as the process on which subjects or issues to be discussed as an educational topic to be shared with the community?
So that's a great question. So because we respect one another, we listen to each other's ideas, suggestions, and then we go about voting on that. So the majority usually has its way. But this commission, actually, you might not believe this, but we all agreed on the first speaker series topic.
Which one?
We are doing substance use disorder.
Do you feel that this commission is autonomous of any oversight?
I think that all commissions should have some sort of oversight.
Who do you think should have that oversight?
Of this particular commission or all commissions?
Well, this particular commission that you can speak is.
This commission is appointed by the mayor, and it is also, people can apply through an application process.
But just to make sure we're kind of on the same page, do you see this commission as an extension of us as the body of the local city government?
Absolutely, and I also see this commission as an extension of the community of Jefferson City.
Absolutely. When did the commission change its mission statement, and what were those changes?
So honestly, I don't know when the commission changed its mission statement. I was brought onto the commission after it was reinstated when Mayor Turgeon was here. And our main purpose is to educate the community. And so as far as the mission statement is, we are obligated and we serve the city for educational purposes, to bring awareness.
Does anyone have an idea of when that mission statement was changed and what the changes were? Because I think, yeah, that's right.
My understanding is that a similar commission was discontinued several years ago, and this one was started more recently. Some people claim it's a continuation of the same commission. I see it as a new commission.
It's a new commission, so therefore a new mission statement was developed then.
That was before I was on the commission.
Before any of us, you were on the commission, okay.
We did draft it when it was reinstated.
And when did the commission, and what was the process for the commission coming up with the mission statement and the new logo that we see on the t-shirts?
It was just a collaboration among ourselves, and we worked with city staff to make sure, that we were falling within the parameters of our purpose to educate the community and try to connect groups of people and have conversations.
as far as the approval, I guess, of staff, did that incorporate legal at all, or? So I guess what I'm, since all boards and commissions are an extension of city government, those changes to the mission statement and the addition of a logo should have the approval of legal, I believe, and the city council, which to my knowledge was never done. So maybe that's something we could kind of recorrect history to get us all and your commission in good standing. You mentioned that you have a desire to have a social media presence on Facebook and X potentially. I do have some concerns about that mainly will be is the process of communication and who will approve said communication. I think there needs to be some oversight to make sure we do not cross any lines of promotion or indoctrination versus education of social or political issues.
So to speak to that and to kind of address that concern of yours, we operate every meeting that we have the city council liaison, and we also have staff available. We do nothing without the approval of the folks in the room. So if Sheila's there, she makes sure that if there's something that needs the attention of the city attorney sees it. We don't make decisions just because we want to and on our own. We do have oversight.
Yeah, and I think that, she's just recently been...
She's the interim.
She's the interim of that, and we had a previous person fulfilling that obligation. I hope that it was fulfilled. So what will be the agenda of the educational topics for the rest of 2024? Do you have an idea?
So like I said, we will be doing, our first speaker series will be on substance use disorder. And the second speaker series, we have not solidified that topic yet, but we are working together to do so.
Okay. So to kind of make sure we fulfill the spirit of honesty and transparency here, I have heard some concerns from people in the community about the desire to replicate what the city of Columbia did with their ordinance for the potential of the city of Jefferson to become a sanctuary city for the LGBTQ plus community. Is that on your all's agenda?
The commission's agenda, no. There are members of the commission who that is on their personal agenda, yes.
But it is not on your immediate
No.
agenda. Well, again, I want to thank you all for being here and reintroducing yourself and your all's role and responsibility to the community. And I look forward to working with you all in the future.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I may. If it was on our agenda to become a sanctuary city, do you have a problem with that?
I'm probably not prepared to answer that.
But I was supposed to be? Give it a stab. I'd like to know.
Well, sure.
Be transparent with me.
As an elected official who's sworn to uphold the city charter and the state of Missouri's constitution and not be in conflict with state statute and state law, I would not support it, no.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that honest answer.
Councilman Allers had a question.
I know there was some interest beforehand that there was trouble meeting with a quorum. Did I have the right commission and all that?
Yeah, last year.
Everything is full?
Yes, sir. It has been rectified, remedied, and we have quorum. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I'm just, reading on previous times that there was.
Sure, and outside of, so just like any other commission, we are a volunteer commission, and there are people that serve on this commission who are parents, people who serve on this commission who have full-time jobs, people who are bivocational like myself. I'm also a pastor. And so there are times when other obligations pull us away from a meeting, sickness, et cetera. And so there have been times that we have not met quorum. But when the mayor first came, I had a conversation with him about that. And one thing that I suggested is that we remove people from the commission, if I can quote you, Mr. Mealy, who are not successful. And so they were replaced with people who are.
I'd ask that about the environmental quality control. I think there were some times that they didn't have the quorum to or something like that. Just always look at different commissions and other reports.
Sure.
Whether we get them or not, that's
Yeah.
no other.
And that was a problem for us as well, because we wanted to work in this community and we just could not do it if we couldn't meet quorum. So we're pleased that we are on the path forward.
Mr. Reisick there, I've known him since our traffic and transportation days too. So.
He keeps us in line.
He's very good at that. He's very good at that.
And Councilman Spencer had another question for you.
Yeah. So maybe if you all would be taking suggestions for potential educational topics of future use. Some of us on the council not necessarily participated, but sat in on a film of the Holocaust. And I think that would, with the current culture with some anti-Semitism, I think that could benefit our community. Pro-life education, cultural diversity events. I think if your all's commission could incorporate a city-wide cultural diversity event, I think that would be wonderful. I think that would be a great addition to our community. Civil rights issues, and also just another one that's national prominence as well, sex trafficking. I think there needs to be a lot of education on sex trafficking and the identifiers of how even us as citizens can recognize that potential danger.
Thank you for those suggestions.
Thank you.
Some of those we have actually tossed around.
Thank you.
I believe Councilman Mealy has a question.
I just wanted to echo everybody else's compliments to your commission, and it's great to see so many familiar faces. And we often think of this as being a big town, but I personally know, I think 4 out of 5 of the commission members, and so that's really neat to see our community come together, and appreciate your time and you being here.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, it takes us to item 8B, Mr. Bo West, Road Valley Apartments. Welcome.
Hello.
Big one, big one.
And if you could just.
Good evening, council.
Yourself for those at home.
Mr. Mayor. Welcome. Thank you. My name is Bo West. I'm here this evening on behalf of FLW LLC. We are a local housing developer. A little bit of background for you guys if you don't know me. My family's been involved in the apartment industry in Jefferson City since the early 1970s. We have some partners in this LLC development group. Thank you. That Steve Leitner and his daughter and son-in-law, Will and Amy Green, they own Jefferson West Apartments, have for decades. Between everybody in this group, we own and manage over 300 units in Jefferson City, market rate apartments. This group is also part of the development team for Cedar Ridge Apartments, which was the first LIHTC development brought to Jeff City almost 30 years ago today. We have 72 units at that property, and we also own and manage the property management firm for Cedar Ridge Apartments. The reason I'm here tonight is to just kind of introduce to the council a proposal that we will be bringing to MHDC later this year. We wanted to kind of get on track with you guys and just let you know that this was going on, and that we will be coming back later this summer to ask for a resolution of support for this development. So the development name is Morrill Valley. We're going to be located on the east side of Jeff City off of Shot Hill Wood Drive. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that street, but it kind of dead ends down there by News Tribune and County Retirement. And there's 7 acres right next to that we've been able to secure. With it being 7 acres, it's large enough for us to put multiple buildings on. However, due to the competitive nature of these developments, we're not going to try to do it all in one phase. We're going to break it up into a couple phases should we be successful with phase 1. So phase 1 is what we're working on for this year. If funded, we would go back, and once we got funded, built, leased up, we'd probably go back in 2 or 3 years and try to do phase 2. But phase 1 is 48 units. It's going to be 2 24-plexes. The Is there a pointer on this by chance? Well, okay, so you can kind of see the large aerial there that shows where the site is located. It's kind of backing up against Highway 50 there. And then it just kind of gives you a description or an example of what the exteriors would look like. That's going to be really hard to read. This is just unit mix. So like I said, 24 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, 24 3 bedroom, 2 bath. That's basically what this is all talking about here. This is our site plan. So you can see the county retirement system there to the left. We're going to develop the back of the property first with 2 buildings kind of button up to the back of the property there where the highway is. In the center there, it's kind of difficult to see, but there's a little tan circle. That's a playground, and right next to the playground, there's a little square building there that's going to be our community center and our leasing office. And then kind of phased out toward the front of the property there is what would be hopefully a phase 2 at some point in the future of an additional 48 units. These are some floor plans on the buildings. Not too much to note here other than the 3 bedrooms will be on the outside of each building, and then the 2 bedrooms will be four units in the interior of the building. Unit floor plans. And then on the elevations of the property, it's going to be a brick veneer with vinyl siding as well, asphalt shingles. And then here's a floor plan of the community room. We'll have community space available, a small maintenance shop, leasing office, and then there'll also be some office space for a lead referral agency and service provider, which we're working with some local nonprofits on that. I'm pretty sure I have that lined up, but it's not been formalized in writing, so I'd rather not say who that is at this point in time. Just a quick timeline, and then I'll let you go. It sounds like you've got quite a bit of discussion to do still yet tonight. Right now, we're kind of in a limbo phase, but we want to go ahead and bring it to council, just let you guys know that we're working on this, and hopefully we're going to be able to bring more housing to Jeff City, as I think everybody's quite aware that we need it desperately now. We're currently waiting for MHDC to release their QAP. That should be coming out really any time now, sometime here mid-May I'm expecting. Once that is released, we can start working on the actual application that's going to be submitted to MHDC. In July, they'll hold a developers workshop, which we'll attend. At that workshop, they work with developers on, what's expected this year for the application process and past projects in recent time. What's kind of worked for them, what's some trouble they may have ran into that we need to, keep aware of as we're underwriting the project. I would like to come back probably in July, if that would be possible with the council, to ask for a resolution of support that we can submit with our application to MHDC to show them that we have a city that is in support of bringing housing to Jefferson City. August, we'll be finalizing our application, completing the market study, and reaching out to local businesses, nonprofits, industry leaders, and the community at large just to ask for support letters to turn in with our application. It'd be submitted in September, and first week of December, second week of December, somewhere in there, the commission should meet and announce who's getting funded for this year. And hopefully late this year or early next year, I can come back here and tell you we were awarded and start working on getting some apartments built. I wanted to finish up. I know we have several new members on the council. Mayor Ron Fitzwater, he started, I guess you still have your housing task force. We invited them out to Cedar Ridge, Mayor, his task force, and the council members, to do a tour of this property, a Litech development in Jeff City, and just show you what these properties can look like after 30 years of being well maintained and well kept. And I would just like to extend that offer to the new council members if they would be interested in taking a tour. I'd be happy to set that up.
I saw that video. Thanks, and yeah, just to tag on to that, some on council remember a couple of years ago we had a lot of community concern because this meeting was at the time where a decision was requested. So last year we tried to implement this new process where we give council a little bit of an update or heads up on this is coming, so you have an opportunity to talk out in your wards, talk to your communities, and then we'll ask Mr. West on his time frame to come back. And we were fortunate we had a 10-0 vote last year. I mean, again, that's on you this year. That helped us to get through the process at the state of Missouri. But again, we felt like it's better for you to have the information in advance so that you've got a couple months that you can work on this. So Mr. West has been very good to work with us. Councilman Spencer has been very active. And one last comment, Councilman Spencer and the council, but we kind of worked to retool the proposal last year, so we had some opportunities that we could work with Mr. West this year to kind of put some extra benefits in the proposal for Jefferson City. So we had not gotten one for a while. We got one last year, and we'd like to get another one this year. So we appreciate. I had one other question, and I think there was a comment. Is this presentation available so council can have it, or is this proprietary right now?
No, Eric, do you have a copy of it, Clint? Okay.
We don't need it tonight. It's just if we can send it out.
The city staff has copies of it, so I'd be happy with them to share it. And if anybody has any questions, they have my contact info, so feel free to reach out, my cell phone or email, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. You know, if something comes up and you're not thinking of it right now, want to ask it, I'd be happy to answer it.
And I would encourage those that have not taken the tour, the residents that talk to us were amazingly supportive. One lady moved to Jefferson City so she could get in Mr. West project. So we like people like that. Councilman Spencer.
I want to publicly thank you for your commitment to this issue. I'm going to go on record to say I'm going to support this if it comes to our body for consideration. You know, you are a local developer. This is what we want to see come and give their vision of how they want to help you know, solve this housing crisis that's not unique to Jefferson City. We know that. It's a national problem. And you know, but it's going to take people like you and the private sector to get us into a sustainable, reproducible solution for housing.
Well, if I could just say to that real quick, the benefit of being a local developer is, you know, we're here, boots on the ground every day. I mean, we're actively, you know, Colonial West is my market rate place that I manage. My office is right there. I'm literally there every day. I'm out at Cedar Ridge. We have an on-site property manager there, but I'm out there 3-4 times a week just checking in on the property. So, you know, it's not where it's getting built and then it doesn't get taken care of, which I know we had problems with that in the past with other areas. So
thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Ellis, did you have something?
Three or four quick things. I want to echo what Councilman Spencer said about being local and all that. Greatly appreciated. I'd encourage the new members. I got to go out last year to see out the ones at Cedar Ridge, and it's a completely different thing than what a lot of the perception in the city of what these projects are. The lady was very nice, a great person to talk to, and how well maintained they are. They have a certain criteria. It's very well to do the tour and all that, and it's a great thing. Second of all, I like the location because it's kind of close to Scholastic and maybe someone down in an industrial park and toward that. I think that gives them the opportunity to be able to get workers or whoever applies to wherever they want to do. It gives that. And then the third thing, it's close to Gerb Supermarket and restaurants. So, I mean, it'll be within walking distance of having to get groceries and all that. And I know that's, you know, some things we look at it when we develop and how far away things are. And do buses, and the bus system goes out there, all that. It makes perfect sense to me where you located, and I'm very appreciative of it. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I wanted to welcome you. I wanted to welcome you, Mr. West, for coming out. I'm enthusiastic about any possibility of new residences coming to our community. So, and perfect spot right there in Ward 1. Could have been better planned. I hope to be working with it a lot in the future. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Just again, express the appreciation of the locality of people who want to invest in our community that live here and a long history. So we appreciate that. It's very exciting.
I just want to echo what everyone else has said. Housing is a big issue here, and I thank you for helping to remedy that. But I would be interested in touring the facilities.
Okay, great. I'll check with our property manager out there and have her give me some dates, and then I can just email the council or somebody at the city, and they can just, I mean, the whole council can come out again if you wanted to. It's up to you guys, but the ones I just want to extend that offer to the people that didn't get to make it the last time. So
I appreciate that.
Mr. Crane said if you'd send it to him.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll do that to council. Councilman Hazelton?
Mr. Mealy had something, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilman Miller.
I was just gonna say thank you for being here. One thing that sticks with me tonight from when we visited with you in Cedar Ridge 8 months ago was how happy your tenants were and how much respect they have for you and your team. And that, says a lot, or says it all maybe.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Have a good rest of your evening.
All right, takes us to item 9A. Announcements by mayor, council, and staff, administration. Councilman Allers, any report?
Little more interim HR, Ms. Perry, about the June meeting. There was discussion from Mr. Pennington from the Matrix about trying to get something ready for the whole council to be a part of. So we'll look for whatever we get organized, I guess is a good word. When we can get that organized, it may not be on the original date, but I know Ms. Perry.
June 5th is our next.
June 5th, is it? So June 5th it will be.
The rest of council didn't catch that. They're trying to invite all of council to the admin committee next month so you can hear the presentation from Matrix.
I think Mr. Pennington is not sure that he will have that preliminary report ready to go by the 5th. So we may end up putting it just on a council agenda so that all council has the feedback from him. But if it does end up being ready by June 5th, I'll make sure to send an invite to all council for the admin committee and specify that that will be dealt with at that meeting.
Right. I don't know if Councilman Schwartz is still on for finance. I will say we are beginning 2025 budget discussions. Heads up. I think we're obviously looking at summertime, but discussions are starting on that. Public safety.
Mr. Mayor, that finance committee meeting is scheduled for May 23rd. The invite for that has already been sent out, and there will be an agenda to come.
I would encourage everybody, even if you're not on finance, to look at that package. There's a lot of information in there that's very beneficial.
Those meetings are held in Boone and Bancroft.
Councilman Michael, public safety. Did you have a question on that?
I did. I wanted to ask Ms. Perry if she would be interested at all, since we're having the retreat the day before, and I've spoke to Councilman Schwartz about it. He said to ask you if it would work to dovetail that finance committee meeting to after the retreat, if that would work, just since we're all going to be there anyway. Would that work?
I have no opposition to that. If that fits into everyone's schedule. Let me verify calendars tomorrow, and I will get in touch with Councilman Schwartz about changing that potentially.
Okay. Public safety. Any?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next public safety meeting will be May 30th. Note the time change. We've moved that meeting to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and it'll be in the training room as always.
Public Works and Planning, Councilman Spencer.
Yes, our next meeting will be May 9th at 7:30 here in the council chambers, and just a little self-promotion, if I may, with the Public Works and Planning that, I know there's been some discussion with the Capitol Avenue RFP. I would love for any member of the public to come and speak on that. It's clear that we want to get this right, and for full disclosure, we will not be bound by a timeline on this. We're going to get this right. We're going to have plenty of opportunity for the citizens, developers, whoever may want to come and wish to speak about their vision of Capitol Avenue and what that RFP should contain. So just want to throw that out there and look forward to having further discussion on that.
All right. I just wanted to bring you up to date on three things. Made the commitment that we're going to move projects forward. I compliment staff in doing that. Just an update on MSP site work. Hopefully you've been down to MSPs. You've seen that the vegetation has been removed. Had a few comments about Lafayette. There's still work to be done around the Lafayette, but they've taken a lot of the vegetation out. The saddle tree, hopefully you've seen the video that Ms. Bryan put together of the final drop of that building. And I think we all hate to see beautiful buildings like that. That building is down. We continue to work with the state on other opportunities. I think you'll see cell block 2 coming down fairly soon. The company that did the saddle tree, the state was able to work a little bit better deal since they were already on site. So cell block 2 will be the next one. That's the one on the south side. Still discussions on cell block 5, what's going to happen there. So we as a city are living up to our commitment. I know Mr. Bangy and Mr. Crane has been very involved on Chestnut Street. That project changes every time we meet with the state, so we're trying to get that. And I know Mr. Molman has spent countless hours with OA, but that project, we're living up to our commitment there, and I thank staff for doing that. The second, you probably saw, we took possession of News Tribune midnight last Tuesday. We had fences going up around it Wednesday morning. Site work is beginning on the eventual destruction of that building. When the company leaves cell block 2, they'll be moving to News Tribune probably June to mid-June. We had a little issue with the News Tribune, so it put us off a little bit, and I think they're maybe a little bit behind at MSP. And then the third is we're continuing to push the convention center project. We're getting very good preliminary reports. We're very excited about that process. I would compliment Ms. Bryan. One of the things that I was trying to envision, and council was very supportive in putting that position in the budget, is to give us the ability to take our message, push it inward to staff so they know what we're doing, and push it outward to the community. There's a very good website that's been put together for the convention center project that was put together by JC Rep with input from Ms. Bryan and many of our staff members. That is on the JC Rep website, so you can watch the process and the progress of that. There's also a link from the city website to that website at JC Rep. Every document that comes as that project moves forward will be loaded into that website, so you can keep up with what's going on there. But I do compliment what she has been able to do. She's had news media out. We've been videoing, trying to report for the community things that are going on, and I think there's a lot of exciting things. So I thank all of our staff that have been involved in those projects. Takes us to item 10, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Councilman. Seeing no other comments, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 11A, bills introduced 2024-003.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a preliminary PUD plan for a 40-unit apartment complex for property addressed as 1212-1238 Trade Center Parkway.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mayor, this is a bill, first reading for, again, approval of a preliminary PUD, this time for a 40-unit apartment complex, this time on the west side of Trade Center Parkway, so located at 1212-1238. It's referred to as Stronghold Landing, and really it is very appropriate to have this in front of the council tonight and have Mr. West also kind of presenting and introducing another LIHTC project. This was a LIHTC project that was actually recommended by City Council last year with a resolution of support and was awarded a LIHTC low-income housing tax credit project coupled with the city's DR funds that will help finance this project. So this is really what we would hope to expect in a year. This is a preliminary PUD, so their next steps after being awarded that tax credit would go to council and review the development plan that goes along with the PUD. So again, we're on the west side of Trade Center Parkway. The site we had just seen previously would be on the east side. Here is the actual PUD plan for that site, reflecting two separate buildings, 40 units total. two 20-unit buildings. Generally will be 3 stories, but given the grades on one side, it would actually be 2 stories. They have the appropriate parking and infrastructure to be constructed along the street with sidewalk for access. Hadn't mentioned this before, but this site already has the street completed. There's definitely a number of infrastructure that's already installed there, so the site is ready to go. Landscape plan associated with this site as well. As you can see, along the western boundary here, it does abut some single-family residences. The site, fortunately, has a very significant buffer. There is a significant utility corridor running along the west side, which results really in about a 50-foot buffer from the rear of those properties. It also includes a solid 6-foot fence with a number of trees that you can see reflected on the landscape plan. There's also additional landscaping and trees spread throughout the site of this project. Here's some architectural renderings of that building, what it would look like once completed. Again, you'll see some detailing with brick along some of the elevation, along with siding to go along with that. Both buildings would be similar for their elevations and in appearance. With that, I can say that the Planning and Zoning did review this case. They did recommend approval, 8-0. Staff's recommendation at this point is approval as well. This would be a public hearing case. It would come back for a second reading at the second May meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Thank you, sir. All right, item 11B, 2024-004.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning 21.47 acres located at 1131 Boonville Road from RS2, low-density residential, and RC conservation to PUD planned unit development and RS2, low-density residential, and approving a preliminary PUD plan for a rodeo use.
Mr. Smith.
Yes. Thank you. So we'll have a presentation, PowerPoint presentation on this case as well, if we could get that put back up. As stated, this is a kind of a 2-part request. So we have a property that is requesting rezoning from its existing zoning, which is RC and RS2, I believe. Go forward to that site. So the rezoning portion of that, yes, so RS2, which is a single-family residential district, RC, which is a conservation district, which generally corresponds to a floodplain area. The request is to rezone the site to a PUD. The majority of the site would be PUD with some additional RS2 accounting for an existing single-family structure that's on that site right now. In addition to that, along with the PUD, is required PUD plan. So the PUD plan for this site will review, and it does generally show improvements that would be able to accommodate a rodeo-type use on the site. The property is located at 1131 Boonville Road. This is generally the zoning overview. As you can see, currently the site is zoned RC. Again, it's a conservation-type district, generally relegated to areas that don't have a lot of development potential for floodplain purposes. The RS2 is the yellow area. It is a single-family district, so you'll know a lot of the surrounding areas. Additionally, our zone RS2 signifies some single-family uses around the periphery of this site. You can see it located kind of on the east side of Highway 179 at the intersection of Boonville Road. The zoning requested, as you can see on the previous screen, majority of the site was RC with some single-family SF2 around the periphery. The request here would be to rezone the majority of the site to the tan color, as you can see on your screen, to the PUD zoning district. Again, the PUD signifies really kind of a unique zoning district that would require the PUD plan and approval from council in order to enact that. The small portion in kind of the northeast corner there, that portion would be rezoned to an RS2, which is identified an area that is an existing single-family home, so that would be an appropriate zoning for the existing use on that site. So the PUD zoning and the PUD plan would really only be coincident with the PUD zoning, and it would leave out the single-family site there in the northeast corner. So this is the associated PUD plan with this site. There's a few things I will note on the PUD plan. So it does reflect some existing improvements as well as some potential future improvements on the site. It's a little hard to tell from the screen, but there in the center you can kind of see a rectangular shape. That's generally an arena that is on that site currently. Just a little bit to the northeast of that site is also a barn on the site. So that arena, along with the permitted uses that would be allowed on the site with the zoning, would allow the site to be used for rodeo-type activities. And there's a number of other uses which I'll touch base on here shortly, but just to kind of address, I think, some of the site plan characteristics. It will also include future improvements. That would be a paved driveway into the site, paved ADA accessible parking spaces, and a walkway from those spaces into areas that generally will have stadium seating or bleacher seating for viewing of that site. So generally the request from the applicant here is to use the improvements that are mostly on the site now for uses such as a rodeo. There's some other uses that were requested along with that, which would be things that are generally associated with a rodeo as well. Some training activities, some roping activities, and like I said, we'll get into a little more detail of that in a minute. In addition to that, some additional uses that you would generally see within a site like this, such as agricultural uses, some equestrian uses that would be needed for, say, lessons for riding or other things that would be training related. So that represents the PUD plan. So again, there's not a lot of additional improvements. A lot of the improvements are in place now. Would really be to kind of codify the site and to allow those uses then to be used for some of the rodeo type activities. There are some things to note within the PUD plan. PUD plans do allow for deviations from the underlying zoning code. A few of those things I do want to note. One being a gravel parking lot, not typically allowed in a situation such as this. Other deviations do include no parking lot landscaping. And lastly, being the deviation for a waiver of sidewalks. So sidewalks would generally be required along Boonville Road and along 179. I would state that there are no additional sidewalks where a sidewalk construction in this location would connect to any type of greater network. The closest sidewalk is nearly a mile to the south on Highway 179. So construction here would generally be viewed as not connecting to a network at this time. If there was sidewalk construction or roadway improvement in the future, that might be a time when sidewalk construction would move forward. But the request by the applicant includes those three deviations. So approval of the PUD plan would essentially allow those deviations to become part of the PUD plan. With those deviations, a couple of other things to add. During the course of the review of this plan, and we'll move on here to a little bit of an aerial view of the site so you can see a little more detail. View of where the arena would be in the middle. In the review of this, I think staff did recognize this is somewhat of a unique use. So a rodeo kind of in a residential district. And with that recognition, I think came the thought that some additional conditions may be necessary. And so staff did work on formulating conditions that would be recommended to go along with the PUD. These conditions are geared towards mitigating any of those negative impacts that could be felt by nearby residential properties and nearby other property owners. These are conditions they felt could be considered appropriate in this situation in order to allow the use, but also to protect the property owners that in that vicinity that could, again, sustain some negative impacts. In the course of producing those conditions, staff did receive feedback from neighboring property owners as well. With that additional information and with consultation from the applicant, some of those conditions were revised or actually added to. And so the final list of conditions that were presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission and was voted on, they did recommend approval of the PUD plan along with those conditions. And I'll go through those conditions really quick. Generally, they centered on 5 types of areas that they felt additional mitigation was appropriate in this situation. The first of those would be limitations on the number of uses and the types of uses on the site, limitations on signage, limitations on, or location, of parking and the location of portable restrooms, limitations on lighting and when lighting needed to be switched off during events, and limitations on noise generation and when those must be turned off during events. Those conditions are itemized in the ordinance. I won't go through each individual one, but I will touch on some that I think are probably some of the more important ones. One being the permitted uses. So rodeos will be allowed on the site, but they will be limited to times of the year between May and October, and only one event per month. And so that is a rodeo type event. It will allow weekly, though, barrel racing and rodeo event related practices. So this would be events where there is a smaller number of people, actually limited to 25, that could utilize the site on a weekly basis and generally do practice per the applicant. They would attend and do roping practices and other practice events that wouldn't necessarily rise to the level of a full rodeo. In general, though, for any event, operations will end by 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays and 8:30 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday, thereby putting kind of an end time for when these activities can take place. All noise-generating devices, such as speakers and all lighting, needs to be turned off by those times during the specified days. The types of uses, again, would be restricted to the rodeos, the barrel racing and practice events, equestrian, agriculture, and other uses allowed in the RU rural zoning district, which are fairly limited. Signage, temporary signage would be allowed on a limited basis. Advertising signage would be allowed around the parking would be allowed again on the gravel parking lot. Overflow parking would be to the west in the field. Street parking along this area is actually prohibited, so no street parking could occur along Boonville Road in the vicinity of this facility. Restrooms, temporary restroom facilities will be allowed, but they should be screened by the existing barn, so on the south side of the barn. Again, lighting, we have a lighting plan, so that lighting plan would need to be followed. Arena lighting would need to be turned off during the specified hours of operation. And again, any noise generation and devices on the site would need to be turned off during those hours of operation as well. So staff did recognize again that this is a fairly unique use and a unique proposal for this site. Another thing I wanted to note was that staff's recommendation for this proposal was actually neutral. And that is not necessarily a common recommendation that staff gives out, but in certain instances, where there's somewhat a level of uncertainty on how a site and a permitted use proposal could impact surrounding property owners, a neutral recommendation allows a proposal to go to a public hearing and receive that feedback from public without necessarily that recommendation from staff kind of hanging over those conversations. So it allows for a little bit more open conversation with the public. We did have a healthy turnout for this. We had several speakers during the public hearing. In general, I would characterize as with the conditions, most speakers felt like they were appropriate in the situation. In the final vote, Planning and Zoning did consider the zoning and the PUD plan with the list of conditions in the ordinance. And they did recommend 8-0 in favor of the motion to approve. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And there will be a public hearing at the next meeting, the second meeting in May for City Council for this project.
Do you have a question? Councilman White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just something that kind of dawned on me when I was looking through this and I saw the term rodeo. I thought maybe it was a new city acronym that we would come up with. We didn't realize we were getting rodeo business. All good.
Councilman Spencer and Councilman Positon.
Just for clarification on the PUD, is that transferable to potential different owners?
Yeah, zoning runs with the land. It's legislation, and so it remains with the land until amended by the city council.
Well, I'm sorry.
I do appreciate the collaboration of staff and the owner. The owner was very receptive in meeting with neighborhood residents before the final vote was taken by Planning and Zoning. And it was more than receptive and responsive to the needs and concerns of that. So thanks again for all your all's work in getting this to this point. It took a while to get there, but I think it's a good product in the end.
Councilman Hazelton, and Councilman Good, and Councilman Lester.
So have we had a site like this in the city before?
As far as a rodeo on a residentially zoned property, no, I don't, not that to my knowledge.
So then technically this is our first rodeo.
We're excited. I like it. Hey, Councilwoman Job, you have to follow that.
Okay, so the question that I have is, since there is not an existing sidewalk network, is there a mechanism in place where perhaps we could encourage a development of a sidewalk elsewhere to expand on an existing network as we forego this sidewalk?
Not to my knowledge, I don't think we have a mechanism in place that would allow them to essentially pay for sidewalk installation at a different location, if that's a question. From what I understand.
Councilman Lester.
Yeah, I just say that I've been associated with planning and zoning for over a decade. Seen a lot of PUDs. I've never seen one with so many conditions on it, which I think is entirely appropriate. I just wanted to compliment staff also to working with the owner and with the neighbors to get these conditions and limitations that was agreeable to everybody for this type of product. Just thank you.
All right, thanks. Takes us 2024-005.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, accepting and approving the final subdivision plat of Ridgecrest Subdivision, Section 5, a subdivision of the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're keeping with a little bit of a mini theme here on housing. So we've had 2 PUDs for multifamily housing. What we have here is not a PUD, but it is a zoned property that is in front of this body for subdivision. It's actually the 5th subdivision within the Ridgecrest subdivision portion. It's generally located along Portobello Place Drive, excuse me. Located on the south or west Stadium Boulevard. And again, with an extension through this site on Portobello. It's approximately 26 acres. The proposal would subdivide the existing site into 49 multifamily lots. And so the existing zoning there is RA1, which does allow for multifamily, which would also allow for 2-family and 3-family. That is generally the proposed uses for this site. As you can see the layout here for the 49 lots, there will be a mixture of duplexes and triplexes throughout the site. We'll include the extension of new city streets. And one thing I would point out that this is the final phase of the residential portion of this subdivision. From the original proposal, a couple things I would point out. The current layout of Ridgecrest would allow for a total of 197 units. So those aren't constructed now, but with the subdivision, which we did previously, which was phase 4, this phase 5 would open up nearly 200 new lots for duplex and triplex development. So I think this is an also encouraging sign along with our 2 multifamily projects, which we saw earlier in the meeting. So hopefully things are trending in the right direction and find that very encouraging. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Spencer.
Just real quick, do you have a timeline of when they might be starting?
I don't know off the top of my head, no. But I know they are doing some infrastructure work there, I believe, to get it built out. I don't believe this roadway is constructed yet, so that'll probably be the next stage for them.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Item 2024-006.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending chapters 26 and 29 of the Code of the City of Jefferson by updating references to specific fees and instead placing said fees in Appendix Y.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we are preparing to make modifications to the fees that appear within Appendix Y, we discovered some code that had some inconsistencies. The bill that you have before you presents some code that specified dollar amounts for certain fees, but then they were also listed within Appendix Y. So we're requesting to remove those dollar amounts from the specific code and utilize Appendix Y. That allows us to make changes to the fees on a consistent basis because we do review those on an annual basis. And that way we don't have to go back in and modify code every time we want to make a dollar change on a fee. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, takes us to item 12, bills pending. Item A, you've already dispensed with. Item B, 2024-001.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the 2023-2024 annual budget of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by appropriating additional funds within the Police Department fund.
You get the first ordinance this year, Chief. Congratulations.
Thank you. I just wish it was under better circumstances. But unfortunately, a few months ago, we did have a police patrol vehicle that was involved in an accident. And at the conclusion of that accident, it was deemed a total loss. The insurance claim on that was in the amount of $35,077.48. And that goes into the general fund under insurance payments. We're requesting to bring that out of the general fund and allow the police department to utilize that to replace that police car to keep it in service. Although it won't cover the entire cost of the vehicle, we've got enough funding available in our purchase of vehicles line item as well as sales tax H to make up the difference of that purchase to keep that vehicle in the fleet. Be happy to answer any questions.
Seeing no questions, you have 2024-001 in front of you for a roll call vote.
Lester?
Aye.
Weichel?
Aye.
Mealy? Schwartz? Spencer?
Aye.
Spicer?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Allers?
Aye.
Hazelton?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Bill passes.
All right, 2024-002.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Turnkey Mobile of Jefferson City, Missouri for the upfitting of police vehicles.
Chief, congratulations.
Thank you again. Each year that we do purchase vehicles, there is added expense, which is the upfitting of those vehicles with light bars, radios, sirens, and cages and such. So we did put that out for a bid through an RFP process this year. We had 3 responses on that, and after an analysis of those responses, it's our recommendation that we go with Turnkey Mobile for the upfitting of police vehicles. That is a 1-year contract that would be renewable for an additional 2 years should everything be going well. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none, you have 2024-002 in front of you for a roll call vote.
Weichel?
Aye.
Mealy?
Aye.
Schwartz? Spencer?
Aye.
Spicer?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Allers?
Aye.
Hazelton?
Aye.
Joe? Lester?
Aye.
Bill passes.
All right, nothing on informal resolutions. Resolution 2024-5.
A resolution authorizing the city to enter into a new termination of water service agreement with Missouri American Water Company.
Mr. Seaman.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a new water termination contract that will raise the fee we collect from a delinquent sewer customer and pay to Missouri American. And raise it from $57 to $188. Just to clarify, our normal process is to bill and collect for sewer service. It's never our intent to disconnect customers for service. But sometimes it's necessary to use this process to collect bills that are in arrears. As the resolution summary states, the city will not retain any of the money to disconnect and reestablish service. The entire $188 charge to disconnect and reconnect the service will go to Missouri American. and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Councilman Aller?
How many do you think you do a year, or something along this line?
So we average 40, probably 42 a month.
A month?
A month?
Right. So, and that's actually small. The customer base is about 10,000. So that's actually a very small percentage.
Councilwoman Young?
42 a month, or can you tell me how many of those are due to people, the inability to pay the actual bill? Because my concern is if they can't pay the actual bill and that's why they disconnected and then they have this fee tacked on top of it, that just seemed like, that's like not really a good idea.
It's probably the majority. We don't have a real good track on those who don't have the exact ability. We make a lot of overtures to try to get people on programs to help with assistance and things like that. But I would say the majority of the 40 are in that category.
Councilman Hazelton?
So I do have a question. What is Missouri Americans' justification for the sudden step up? What's the breakdown? Because in my mind, I used to work for a water department. You drive the truck out there, you take a T-handle out of the bed of the truck, you give it 8 turns and the water shut off. Why does that cost $180?
So they're not showing their math, but they've just stated flatly that that's what it costs. And and I agree with your assertion. It's everything's done all together, and they share. They will actually not reconnect that customer if they owe them. So sometimes they use our disconnect to get their customer to pay too. So.
Okay, I was just curious what the breakdown was on that.
Councilman Lytle and then Councilman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's to this body to approve this as presented, correct? Is it?
Yes, to approve the ability for the mayor to sign the contract, right?
So, it seems like an absorbent increase. If the council voted this down, what would American Water do then?
Well, they would continue to not disconnect for us, so we'd have to find other ways to collect bills, other methods.
Councilman Spencer.
And for clarity, that this was not well received or supported by our Public Works Committee, that they have explored and taken advantage of a loophole. Let's just be called for what it is. And we do have our concerns, and there are some of us that expressed, could we vote in protest? But I just wanted that to be clearly communicated to the public. If our News Tribune staff could help with that this is not being endorsed by this body, or was not being endorsed by the Public Works Committee as well. So I think this is something that we need to address with our lobbyists for next year's agenda of addressing that from the state statute, state capital to address the state statute. So that seems to be the only course that we really have, is to try to get that taken care of through state legislation. So this is really an unfortunate circumstance that we have to do this because it just really puts people in a pattern of continued arrears. And it's a cycle that a lot of folks really have difficulty getting out of. And I know there's some nonprofit groups, Common Ground, for instance, tries to help with those situations, but they only can help so many times and so many people. So I was, kind of 40 people might not seem like a huge amount for a community our size. I still see it as that's 40 people that are going to be hurt by this. So, but I just wanted that to be clearly communicated to the public that this is not being endorsed. This was not initiated by city staff or anybody within public works committee. Thank you.
Councilman Leipold and Councilman Hazelton, Councilman Lester.
Maybe just a little background for me. I assume American Water is a lot of communities, not just Jefferson City. So I assume this is applying to all of those municipalities around the state, correct?
Oh, that's right. And to be fair, we're the last ones to, so Mexico, Joplin, and St. Joseph have already agreed to this, and we would be the last ones. They approached us, I believe, late last year, and we're finally to the step.
The situation is actually quite unique. It really only applies in situations where Missouri American Water is the water service provider, and then the municipality is the sewer provider. And so it's actually a fairly limited amount of communities where that's the exact situation. So this isn't a sweeping change that's kind of hitting everyone in the state. It's really kind of uniquely hitting Jefferson City and maybe a half dozen other communities.
How possible is it to retain or maybe take back or share the ability to disconnect water service whenever the event does come that somebody hasn't paid their wastewater bill? They got their 30 days arrears or whatnot. Can we take that ability back and say, you know what, our citizens don't want to pay $180 for it. We'll go back to what we were doing and we will perform that function of disconnecting service, but at the rate that we choose. Is that a possibility?
I don't think Missouri American Water let us touch their equipment.
All right, it was worth a try.
Councilman Lester.
So I noticed that, you know, some of our citizens are served not by American Water, American Water, but the water districts. And the water districts, the city connect and we connect. Is that the levels that we used to charge or even less? It would seem like it would be something similar in Missouri about equal protection of the law related to these type of things.
The status of the water districts?
So you're setting up a system where you have some of our citizens in the city that get treated one way and others get treated very differently.
Yeah, based on who their water company is.
Right.
Yep.
There's nothing preventing that, I guess.
No. So, I mean, essentially what the issue is that Missouri American Water either knew or discovered that these particular fees are not governed by the PSC, because generally for 95% of everything that they do and the charges that they make, those are governed by the PSC and go through a public rulemaking process. They found that this particular fee is not governed and it can't be set or dictated by the PSC, and so they have raised the price to the amount that they think they can get it away with.
300, more than 300%.
Yeah.
We had them cut off our water in 2850.
Is there a way to do like a joint easement where we can do an agreement where when necessary we can do that?
I mean, everything's a possibility, but that would be a possibility. But we would have to convince Missouri American Water to give up this fee, and that we would be the better party to do it.
Councilman Lester.
I would think that most of these that get cut off are renters, probably.
I'm not sure we can handicap that this time, but.
Mr. Mayor, could I give some context as far as dollars go?
Ms. Perry, yes.
So we did speak to the utility billing staff. I don't think that we can distinguish between whether or not they are renters or homeowners. In February, there were 34 shutoffs that did not happen, and it was just under $4,600. In March, it was 48 at almost $8,900. And in May, there were 45 that we did not shut off at just about $8,200. So on those figures, you can see that in all instances, the bills are at least $100 on average of, what has been shut off. And now we're talking about fees of $188. So if they're not paying $100 sewer bill, fees of $188 are going to be a struggle.
Councilman Hazelton will come back. Where you finished? Why don't you go ahead and finish, Councilman?
So, if this happens, I think at least if it is renters who are on the account, I think at least the property owners ought to also be notified that the sewer is delinquent, so at least they can take action themselves if it's a.
That's right. The landlord does receive a copy of the bill.
They do receive it also.
That's correct. And then also the bill that states that you're in arrears. Both of those.
Okay, so when it's delinquent, the owner of the property also receives notice that it's delinquent.
That's right.
Okay.
And in some instances, the landlord will pay the bill. That doesn't happen regularly, but since they do receive a notice as well, there are instances where the landlord will pay it so it doesn't get shut off and there's no.
My final question is, do landlords pretty much know this is happening? Do we know? Does the public know that this?
The increase you're talking about?
Yes.
We have done no publicity or publications or anything like that in regards to the wastewater bills.
So if they were watching it go through public works process, but more likely they're not.
Yeah, I know it's been in the newspaper about our meeting, but this aspect was kind of buried in the article, and I doubt if many people tuned into that.
Councilman Hudson, did you have a comment?
No, I was just gonna say, we're kind of waiting for direction from the council before we start notifying them. So up until this time, we haven't entered into an agreement with them for that charge. We have no real method to shut off service.
Councilman Hudson.
What would we have to do to start the process of looking into the alternative, maybe retaining that ability to shut off water for our wastewater purposes? How would we start that? Would we start a motion here, or must this go through and then we deal with it later on and amend this later?
Yeah, this was given to us as not a negotiation and not an alternative solution brainstorming session. It was this is our new agreement. If you want us to do this for you, you can sign the agreement. So at that time, we looked at legislative fixes, which there's a few that we can explore. Nothing's going to get done this session. But we will not probably ever have the right or the authority to use Missouri American Water's infrastructure to shut off customers. I don't see that as a viable option or something that we could even get approved. So you're left with accepting this and trying to negotiate or work through the legislature later to give us some more authority. Some towns I've seen there's these little bladder balls that you can use to plug sewer lines, but most cities have gotten away from those because it can cause backups and other insurance and health risks. Or you can dig up the line and cut off the service. That doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about thousands of dollars to dig it up, cap it, and then they pay their bill and then you open it up, that would be more than $180. So really not a lot of solutions. The council could, eat that cost. I don't think that was the determination of Public Works and Planning Committee, that for people that aren't paying their bill, that we're going to be charged $180 as the utility company from Missouri American, and our other ratepayers are going to pay that. So unfortunately, we're in a bad spot.
All right, thank you. All right, you have the resolution, Councilman Miller.
Thank you. Mr. Green, I understand what you just said, but I keep going back to Councilor Mullman's word he used earlier, that there are, are possibilities, and it just seems like something, I understand that staff has examined this, to a very large extent, but we don't own any of the city's water infrastructures? The answer, yes.
The city does not own water infrastructure.
Okay. So if Missouri American or any company we had in town were to file for Chapter 13 and leave town, would we retain ownership of that infrastructure, or would they be able to sell it?
They would sell it.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be claimed by a receiver and trustee appointed by the court, and then eventually sold.
Sure. Okay. So I guess, since there's nothing I can do sitting here, the only thing I can make is a public comment about Missouri American, and that would be that, we respect and have a lot of trust in the service providers in our community, but when these types of things happen, it takes a little bit more to keep that level of understanding of the service provider. And Missouri, it's not as Ms. Perry indicated, it's a few $1,000s per month for Missouri American, which I assume in the grand scheme of a multi-billion-dollar company, it's not that much. But as community partners, it would be nice to find ways to alleviate these types of things for citizens who are already in a path of financial stability. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, what's the preference of council? It will take action to get this on the table.
I don't think any of us want to make a motion.
It's under my name. Move to approve.
Second. A motion and a second to approve. You have before you Resolution 2024-3. -5. We're going to do a roll call vote.
Mealy,
Aye.
Schwartz, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Allers,
Nope.
Hazelton,
No.
Joe, Lester,
No.
Lightfoot.
Aye.
6 ayes, bill passed, or resolution is adopted.
All right, takes us to item 15, new business. I believe Councilor Spencer, you had an item?
Thank you. I'll try to be brief here. Just some questions for Police Chief Wilde. In recent weeks, we have seen an influx of the homeless people in our community, and with that, it seems we have had some issues. Can you confirm some of these incidents have or have not occurred? An assault with a weapon with homeless people at the library?
Cannot confirm there was an assault with a weapon there.
A homeless male urinating in public view inside the library?
Yes.
Numerous property damage in the downtown area? and maybe you probably can't answer this as a policy question due to the library, but is it the policy of the library to not press charges against the homeless if the library property is damaged?
I can't speak directly to their policy. I know that they have called us on occasion for certain incidents that happen there. But as far as whether or not they have a formal policy about their own property, I don't know.
So Councilman Spicer, myself, and Charles Jackson, we had a nice meeting with and was encouraged by her efforts with building trust and collaboration with nonprofit services in the community. I just think it's imperative for our citizens, in particular our children, that visit and explore the opportunities of the library and their amenities to be safe. And I know as a parent, I felt comfortable with dropping off my children in the past, but unfortunately I do not feel that way as of today. I just think the community has the right to know about some of these issues and incidents going on. And I know there's no easy solutions or answers, but I am encouraged by the work that newly created position from your department. And my concern is that she's going to be quickly overburdened, and we want to try to alleviate that. So I know you're good about communicating with the new Public Safety Committee and us as a council as a whole, but she needs some help. We want to make sure that we're proactive in giving these resources.
I can definitely tell you this, and this is obviously not an issue that's unique to Jefferson City. It's going on all around the nation, and it is a challenge. I think we attempt to take sort of a two-pronged approach, which is there are people having issues and they can get the help or they will receive the help. We try to get them the help that will line them up for success. And I think that's important. We as a community keep doing that because the other option is automatic jail or a trip to the hospital to get a mental health evaluation, and those aren't really fruitful outcomes. We do have a lot of resources here in Jefferson City, especially the crisis access point through Compass Health that we encourage people in need to go to. There are other, agencies here, Catholic Charities, for food pantry. There are tons of resources in Jeff City. So I think our two-pronged approach is try to get people aligned with the resources that they need to get them back on their feet. But I also know Jefferson City is a law and order sort of town, so we don't ignore the quality of life issues that are going out there when a crime is committed. And this isn't related to whether you were unhoused or a citizen in this community. If you do certain things here, it's expected that we enforce the law. So that's the best effort we can give it right now. Telling people if there was a magic wand, that could write this across the nation, we could sell it for as much as we ask for it because it is challenging. But I appreciate what you said about Officer Hitt and her efforts because they have been successful. And I think our definition of success is that when we get repeated calls on somebody over and over and over again, if we can get them lined up with the resources they need and we don't see them again, that's a recipe for success. And that's working. It's working over 50% of the time. So that officer, when hired, had a very specific background, and I do intend, as we approach full staff, we do have another position on the community action team that will probably fulfill that as well and allow that knowledge base to spread amongst our ranks.
And something that we had a discussion about as far as maybe the possibility of exploring is that, maybe utilizing the model of the drug court to be able to, institute a model for this for homeless people. If we start intaking them we as a society, as a civil society, has to have a foundation of law and order. And just because of life circumstances doesn't give you the right to do things illegally. We have to keep our public safety, as a premium and keep, that as a number one objective. But maybe our nonprofit partners could help, again, utilizing the model of the school resource officer or the JC Public Schools help pay the cost of those officers in the school setting. It would be advantageous for the nonprofits to also help maybe facilitate an additional police officer that is trained and equipped with dealing with a lot of these situations. So
that is the benefit of having, this discussion has been ongoing for years about what's the response model. Is it a co-response model? Is it just simply send social workers out? Is it just police officers? And that, that's open to debate based upon what community you're from, what's right for you. But I can tell you what's working out very well for us right now is to have someone with a badge show up and say, we're here to help. And that really, because we're there, for the most part, 24/7, not limited by the hours that we can work. And some of what we're doing is really, really good things based upon the resources that we have here in town. I had that discussion with Ted Solomon from Compass Health about a co-responder model, and he said, well, they didn't at that time have the bandwidth to support that, so we're doing what we can. But yeah, ultimately it comes down to they're willing to receive the help. If they're willing to get into the back of our police car and go get the assistance they need, it's going to be a good step forward. But if not, the alternative based upon their actions is probably going to result in a trip to jail for committing a crime if that's the way it goes. So
in closing, I know she's very passionate about what I call it, I don't know of a better description of the process, but intaking, intaking them and seeing what segment that they fall into, whether it is, mental illness or addiction or they just the type of person that, doesn't want any help. And, that's their right and privilege too, but able to intake them and put them in the proper direction for assistance is key. And she's just doing a great job, and your department should be commended for that, getting this started. And hopefully, like I said, we can expand it if need be. Thank you.
Councilman Allen?
I'm just gonna have a query with the Councilman Spencer there for a second.
Sure. I didn't know I had a right to refuse, but.
Yeah. One of my constituents, Mr. Holston, this is before you were elected, contacted me about turning in someone about drug use inside and a person ODing inside the library and all that. And I'm not wondering if you all talked about what the county or the public library's stance on that is. And then you mentioned something about a resource officer, which that was a question I had. Have we thought about instituting one or two resource officers or having them look to see how that can be budgeted to help out with that? Because, that's a big problem if you want to drop off your kids there. And then thirdly, have we addressed the problem that it was mentioned briefly on KMIZ about Lieutenant Williams saying that, we're getting an influx out of Columbia. So I don't know if that was in any discussions.
I can't confirm that, if that's the case. Maybe the police chief has better data of where they're coming from than I do. So.
Councilman Spicer?
Well, just currently, I think a lot of people don't really understand how many we are getting now. She said we're up to, 40 or 45 right now. That's a lot. And, and I think it's also a situation when they're all over downtown and, the great citizens that we have in this town, they all want to help, but, coming, giving them, which I think they should be able to eat, but, 40 or 50 pizzas at a time or people dropping off food, it's kind of like also a situation where you feed a dog or a cat, they're never going to go anywhere. And I think, as a group, we got to find a place where, they can go where they're gonna be warm, or gonna have food, or we're gonna have that, you know, away from the downtown area, or, you know, we gotta find something to help the folks. But I mean, I just think that, you know, it's not just a few. I mean, 40 or 45 is quite a bit.
Mr. Crane?
I might just mention, somebody asked, and I have met with the library. They do have a code of conduct. They've had it for quite some time, and all the instances that I just heard there, well, I don't know any direct knowledge of those. Those all sound like violations of their code of conduct, which would probably get a call from the police department or removed from the property. So.
Councilman Lester?
Just following up on Councilman Spicer's comments, I know that Housing in the Community JC is working for a day center, to set up a day center. They're needing to find a facility, and they do have funding, but that's certainly in line with what you're saying is needed. And I totally agree that would definitely help to have a day center where people can go and the resources there, have them there and comfortable place and spend the day rather than being in the library or on the street. Just want to comment on that's an ongoing effort, and have knowledge of appropriate building, resources for Housing and Community JC, who also does the Homeless Connect each year and does other activities to help the homeless. We do room at the end in the winter. But anyway, those efforts are being made, and certainly we need help. They need help in reality.
Thank you. In past years, I've volunteered at Room at the Inn, and the numbers I've heard tonight don't indicate to me that there's been a substantial increase in our unhoused population, even though I think maybe subjectively and what individuals seeing there has. I know I've had constituents reach out with concerns about unhoused individuals, and it's something that's always, you know, on my mind, on my radar, ready to work on. I think the best way we do that is collectively, you know, even as city leaders, as council, to maybe take this forum that we're having right now to those organizations that are designed to work on this type of work. And that's where the rubber hits the road, you know. It's more the nonprofits than it is the city that's tackling this work, because that's kind of who's said they would do it. But I just see that, and then also too, you know, if you're gonna present a problem, you know, solutions are often good. And you know, I've talked to Ms. Young at the library a time or two, but you know, I would go directly to the individuals, you know, to the county and to those folks, and let's have these discussions. So get something out of the conversation.
All right, thank you very much. Item 16, unfinished business. We don't have any. On to item 17. Before we do anything, there was a question in regard to the language, so I'm going to ask Mr. Molman to respond to that.
Thank you. So reviewed the statute. The statute does not appear, at least on its face, to, it certainly doesn't apply to the 24-hour notice. I don't think we have any problem. What this statute appears to be addressing are situations where people are seeking information, like a record. What the statute refers to as information, not necessarily meetings. So I'm not sure that this applies to situations where we are required to meet regarding the topic on response plans by law enforcement, public safety. But if the city council wanted to act under abundance of caution and motion, a statement that disclosure would prepare the public governmental body to protect the security or safety of persons or real property, that the public interest in non-disclosure outweighs the public interest in disclosure of the records. Once again, it's there, it's in the records. But if from an abundance question, if someone wanted to include that in the motion and reduce to writing and be included in the record, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think on its face, I think it only applies to records as opposed to meetings. But once again, the Sunshine Law is notoriously difficult to interpret. So I wouldn't be opposed to including that in the motion and reducing that down to writing. I'm not 100% convinced that it's necessary.
So,
I think that's necessary.
Clerk, do you understand what he's asking to
I
add
can
to
read this and add the disclosure section. Can I read it out loud?
the highlighted section? Is that what needs to be added?
After disclosure, or starting with disclosure. Disclosure was there.
Yeah.
We're gonna read the charge and then a motion to adjourn and go into close would be in order.
The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the public session pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri. Also go into closed session to discuss the following: operational guidelines, policies, and specific response plans developed, adopted, or maintained by public agency, and that disclosure would impair the public governmental body's ability to protect the security or safety of persons or real property, and shall in the same writing state that the public interest in non-disclosure outweighs the public interest in disclosure of the records. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, second, a roll call vote.
Schwartz, Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer.
Aye.
Young. Allers.
Aye.
Hazelton. Joe. Lester.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Neely.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Okay, thanks everyone. We will go into closed session. It'll be in this room and we can start as soon as everyone